Welcome to Rogue Atlas. Today I'm going to be telling you 10 interesting facts about Amsterdam. You can see I'm standing in front of the beautiful Rijksmuseum behind me, which is really famous for a lot of different artists. It's a wonderful thing to do. You should take a tour and get a guide. I've done it before, it's awesome. So the first fact that I'm going to tell you is that the most common crime committed in Amsterdam is bike theft. Kind of makes sense, there's a lot of bikes here, valuable market. Let's keep going. Here we go with fact number 2. I'm standing right now in the Vondelpark, but I'm going to tell you about something a little bit different. There's public restrooms that you'll see all over the place in Amsterdam. They're basically just like little bent green pieces of metal, essentially, which are great for men. They're essentially pissoirs, that's what they call them in French. So, you know, it's like a urinal hole in the ground that you can just go and pee. But if you're a woman, there's not very many places to go. And a few years ago, a woman had to pee so bad, and so she went into an alleyway like around the houses, and her friends came with their sweaters or shirts or whatever to try to block her so that she could pee, and she just peed right there on the street. Well, the police saw her and gave her a 75 euro fine. They decided that this was essentially unconstitutional because if you're a woman and you have to pee super bad, there's nowhere else to go. So she went and fought at the courthouse with a bunch of other women, and 50 women sat there and peed on the floor of the courthouse in protest. In the end, she only had to pay half of her fine, so I guess it was at least a little bit of a win. Fact number 3. Contrary to popular belief, marijuana is not actually legal in Amsterdam. It's not legal to sell, consume, or to grow, but it's considered a soft drug, so it's tolerated. That also goes along with magic mushrooms are now illegal here as well after the very unfortunate death of a tourist some years ago. But you can still buy magic truffles. Those are still legal in Amsterdam. So you can get those and talk to the people in the stores about them, and they'll give you good information on the doses and everything. With that fact that marijuana is not actually legal in Amsterdam and in the Netherlands means that it's actually controlled by the black market, which means that there's competing drug gangs and cartels that are providing the weed for the companies. So even though you won't feel it, it is actually a fact here, so it's kind of something interesting to know. Fact number 4 is that most of the houses in Amsterdam are built as canal houses, which is why you'll see them with these hooks on them at the tops. But you might ask, why would there be hooks on top of houses? It's because the old Amsterdam houses were built really tall and narrow with really steep staircases. You can see that in the Pankokenhouse clip. But yeah, it was difficult, almost impossible, to carry heavy things up to the higher floors. So they used these hooks on ropes. It's like a pulley system, and they would take heavier objects up to the top of the houses so that they didn't have to carry them up the stairs. It's also really beautiful and pleasing for us to look at now, so can't be mad about that, right? Fact number 5 is that Holland is not actually the only country in the world with red light districts or legalized prostitution. Some other ones, to name a few, are Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Denmark, and also Australia. And all of these places have legalized prostitution on some level, maybe not fully legal, but on some level at least. And the largest red light district in the world is actually in Hamburg in Germany. Fact number 6 is that the Netherlands was the first country in the world to legalize same-sex marriage, which means that this is a very open and free and happy, pride-loving city, and you see gay pride flags all over the place. And there's lots of gay bars and just people being open and free to express themselves. It's really a wonderful thing to see, and really cool that this was the first country that happened in. Fact number 7, Amsterdam has approximately 820,000 people, but there's about 1.5 million bikes here. And the reason for that is that either people own more than one bike, but there's also lots of touring companies and stuff that rent out bikes to people. And on average, 100,000 bikes per year are stolen. Like I mentioned earlier, that theft is a big problem with bikes. You can see 100,000 bikes a year, that's a lot. Fact number 8 is that you'll see the symbols XXX all over the city in Amsterdam. It is the symbol of their city. You see it depicted on the tops of buildings, you see it in tattoos, you see it on the ground. It's pretty much all over the place here. And it stands for heroic, determined, and merciful. And it is the symbol of St. Andrew, who was tortured on an X-shaped cross back in the time when he was alive. He's the saint of fishermen, so it was depicted when it was a fisherman village. So you see the XXXs all over Amsterdam, and it's a really cool, interesting fact about the city. Fact number 9 is in Amsterdam and in the Netherlands, taxes were paid according to how many windows you had in the front of your house. So this is why a lot of the times you'll see narrower houses in the front, and then they actually got wider in the back because they were trying to avoid taxes. Also, the number of actual physical window panes that you have in the house means that you paid more tax. So for example, if you had like this house behind me, all of the individual panes, you paid more taxes, versus the ones that had big open windows would pay less taxes. And it was a way for people to show off to their neighbors, like, oh, I have more money than you. But it was really stupid because then they have to pay more taxes. Anyways, cool fun fact. So we finally come to fact number 10 here in Amsterdam. You can see behind me, this building has a sign that's like made into the brick that's showing a symbol on it, and a bunch of different buildings have different symbols on them, and they are representing the jobs that people used to do back in the old days when they lived there. So you could kind of get an idea of what type of industry was in that building just from the sign behind you. So you can see the one behind me is like a religious symbol, so it was some sort of religious service that they were offering. So anyways, if you liked this video, I think that you should click like and subscribe to Rogue Atlas. Thank you for joining me again. If you have any suggestions on other interesting topics that you'd like to go over, please do let me know. I love reading your comments. Thank you so much. I'm out. Peace.